I had never imagined that a simple moment could disrupt the quiet rhythm of my life. It was a stifling afternoon, and the air hung heavy, making even Thesmalist movements feel exhausting. I had spent the morning tidying up the kitchen wiping counters and sweeping floors, yet, instead of relief, I felt the deep ache of fatigue settling into my body. The weight of my years pressed down on me, a silent reminder of time's passage. My husband Mark had left for work hours ago, and I found myself alone in the house, yearning for a moment of rest. Just as I leaned against the dining table, closing my eyes for a brief reprieve, a knock at the door startled me. It was my nephew. Ryan, a young man in his mid-20s. His expression was unreadable, yet something in his eyes gave me pause. There was a subtle shift in his gaze, something unfamiliar in intensity one hadn't noticed before. "You look tired," he observed softly, his voice tinged with concern. "ER?" I let out a weary sigh, attempting a small smile. "Just a long morning," I murmured, rolling my shoulders in an attempt to shake off the stiffness. Ryan's gaze lingered on me for a moment before he took a step closer. "You should relax," he said gently, his tone carrying both care and quiet insistence here. Let me help before I could protest. He moved behind me, placing his hands firmly on my shoulders. His fingers pressed into the tense muscles at the base of my neck. Meeting with an unexpected precision, a shiver ran down my spine. At the sudden contact, his touch was warm, steady, and oddly comforting. "You're always taking care of everyone else," he murmured, his voice close to my ear. "You deserve this." I closed my eyes, letting out a slow breath. First, I told myself this was just a simple gesture, an innocent act of kindness, but something about it felt different. There was an intimacy in the way. His hands moved, a quiet persistence that made my skin tingle as his fingers worked deeper into my shoulders. The tension in my muscles melted away. I hadn't realized how much I needed this. My body instinctively leaned into the sensation, aching for relief. Ryan's hands moved lower, tracing slow, deliberate circles along my upper back. "You're so tense," he remarked, his voice dipping slightly. I swallowed my throat. Suddenly, the warmth of his breath near my ear made my pulse quicken. This was supposed to be just a massage. Yet a strange, unfamiliar energy filled the air between us. I told myself to ignore it, to focus only on the relief in my tired muscles. But a quiet unease stirred inside me. Something about this moment felt different, something I wasn't sure I was ready to acknowledge. Ryan's hands moved steadily across my back, his fingers pressing deeper into my muscles. I let out a slow exhale, the tension in my body gradually unwinding under his touch. But something about this felt different. The warmth of his palms, the steady pressure, the way his breath occasionally brushed against my skin. It was all too intimate. My mind fought against the thought, but my body responded in ways I hadn't anticipated. A slow heat spread through me, unfamiliar yet undeniable. Ryan's voice broke the silence, his tone lowers. "After you carry so much stress," he murmured, his hands gliding down my back, lingering just a little too long. "You deserve to let go." I swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. The logical part of me screamed that this was wrong, that I should pull away, but I couldn't move. My muscles betrayed me. Relaxing further into his touch, a shiver coursed through me as his thumbs traced slow circles along my spine. "You're so strong, but even strong people need to be taken care of," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. My skin tingled at his words. I tried to ignore the way his touch made my pulse quicken. This was just a massage, nothing more. But the way he moved, the way his hands lingered, suggested Otherwise, Ryan leaned in slightly, high lips dangerously close to my shoulder. "You're so tense," he repeated, his voice almost a whisper. "Let me take care of you." A deep, unsettling warmth spread through my chest. I knew I should stop. This should say something, but the words refused to come. My body betrayed my mind, responding to the steady, hypnotic motion of his hands. The air between us grew, heavier, charged with something I couldn't define. His hands drifted lower, sliding along my back in a way that sent a jolt of awareness through me. It stiffened slightly, but he didn't stop. Instead, he hesitated as if waiting for a reaction. I opened my mouth, but no words. Came my breath hitched as he pressed his thumbs, deeper, teasing out knots. I hadn't even realized were there. Each movement was slow, deliberate, calculated. He was waiting for me to decide whether to pull away or to let this moment continue. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. This was crossing a line. But for some reason I hesitated. The room felt too warm, the weight of his touch too overwhelming, and then, as if sensing my internal struggle, Ryan exhaled softly. His breath skimmed my neck, igniting a slow burn beneath my skin. I tensed. He stopped for a moment. The world felt suspended, balanced on the edge of something unspoken. The air between us crackled with unresolved tension, and I realized whatever was happening, it wasn't just in my head. Ryan was waiting for me to decide, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to. Ryan's hand slingered his fingers, pressing into my lower back. His touch, both soothing and unsettling. I should have stopped. This already, I knew it, and yet I remained, still, my breath shallow. My mind clouded with conflicting thoughts. His fingertips traced slow, deliberate circles, skimming just above my waistline. I stiffened, and for a moment I thought he might pull away. But instead he hesitated, waiting. The warmth of his breath hovered near my neck, his presence too close, too overwhelming. "You don't have to hold back," he whispered, his voice deep, coaxing. "Just let yourself feel." A shudder rippled through me. My body, traitorous and untrustworthy, leaned into his touch before my mind could stop it. The space between us had all but vanished, the air thick with an unspoken tension that neither of us acknowledged, but both of us felt. I clenched my hands against the edge of the dining table, forcing myself to ground my thoughts. This was wrong. Knew it, and yet I couldn't bring myself to pull away. Ryan's fingers slid higher, again tracing the curves of my shoulders, down my arms, slow, steady. My breath hitched as he leaned in just a fraction more, his chest brushing against my back. Every inch of my skin tingled in awareness. "Ryan," I finally murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to stop this, to say something that would break whatever spell had taken hold of us, but my voice lacked conviction. He heard it. He sensed my hesitation. "You deserve to be taken care of," he said, his tone soft, understanding. "You always give so much to everyone else." His words settled deep inside me, stirring something raw and unspoken. How long had it been since someone had touched me with such deliberate care, since someone had seen me, not just as a wife, not just as a woman exhausted from the burdens of daily life, but as something more. His hand slid lower again, grazing my waist. A sharp inhale escaped me, and suddenly the weight of the moment became unbearable. This had gone too far. I wrenched myself forward, pulling away from his grasp. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned to face him. His expression was unreadable, his eyes dark with something I refused to name. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. This isn't right," I said, my voice unsteady. Ryan didn't move. His hands still hovered in the air, as if reluctant to let go. His jaw tightened, and for a brief second, I saw something flicker in his gaze. Something that looked almost like regret. "I'm sorry," he murmured, finally stepping back. I exhaled, my body still trembling, my mind still spinning. The moment had shattered. leaving behind nothing but a charged silence and the unspoken truth that neither of us wanted to acknowledge. It turned away, pressing a hand against my chest, trying to steady my breathing. My pulse was a frantic drumbeat against my ribs. This had to stop it. Should never have started. But deep down in the quietest part of myself, I wasn't sure if I believed that. Ryan lingered for a second longer before finally stepping, where I heard the soft rustle of his movements, the weight of his presence slowly fading as he put distance between us. Yet something told me this wasn't over, not yet. Ryan took a step back, his hands falling away, and suddenly the air in the room felt thinner. The tension that had built between us, unspoken, undeniable, dissipated like smoke. But its presence still lingered, clinging to my skin. I turned away, pressing my palms flat against the edge of the dining table, grounding myself. My pulse pounded in my ears, my breath uneven. I didn't know what had just happened. Oh, that it had been too close. Too real for a long moment. Neither of us spoke. Ryan exhaled heavily, his voice barely above a whisper. He stopped himself as if unsure of what to say. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, trying to steady the tremor in my hands. I couldn't look at him, not yet. What had I done? This wasn't just a fleeting moment, an accident that could be brushed aside. It was something more, something dangerous. The weight of realization pressed down on me. Heavier than anything I had felt before. I had let it happen. I had felt something I wasn't supposed to feel. Ryan shifted behind me, the sound of his footsteps breaking the silence. "I should go," he murmured finally, his voice unreadable. I nodded, still, no turning around. Yes, neither of us moved. The silence stretched thick and suffocating. And then, without another word, Ryan turned toward the door. I heard the quiet creak as it opened. The hesitant paused before he stepped outside the door, shut behind him. With a soft click, the house suddenly felt colder. I released a shaky breath, rubbing my arms as if to chase away the lingering sensation of his touch. The reality of what had just happened crashed over me, sending a wave of guilt, confusion, and something else I couldn't quite name. What was I supposed to do now? I had never expected this. I had never thought of Ryan that way before. But something in the way he touched me, the way he looked at me, it had awakened something buried deep inside me, and now I couldn't ignore it. I moved to the sink, gripping the counter as I stared at my reflection in the darkened window. My own eyes betrayed me. They weren't filled with anger or regret. They were filled with longing. I squeezed my eyes shut, shaking my head. This had to stop. It was a moment of weakness, nothing more. A mistake, and yet a voice inside me whispered that it wasn't over, that this was only the beginning. Days passed, but the memory of that moment lingered. No matter how much I tried to push it away, it clung to me, resurfacing in quiet moments. When I least expected it, I told myself it was nothing. A fleeting impulse, an accident that meant nothing, but deep down I knew better. The next time Ryan visited, I felt it the moment he stepped through the door. That same unspoken energy between us, charged and undeniable. He didn't mention what had happened. Neither did I, but something had shifted. My husband Mark had left for work, as usual, and once again I was alone in the house with Ryan. The familiarity of it sent a shiver down my spine. I should have told him not to come. I should have put distance between us, but I didn't. Instead, I let him stay. We talked about nothing and everything, but beneath our words, there was an unspoken pull, a dangerous gravity drawing us closer. No matter how much I tried to fight it then, it happened again. Not in the dining room, this time, but in the living room, where the late afternoon sun cast long golden shadows across the floor. I don't remember how it started, if you reached for me first, or if I simply didn't pull away fast enough. All I remember is the way. My pulse quickened when his fingers brushed against mine. The way his gaze held mine, searching, questioning, daring me to acknowledge what we both already knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something we could pretend hadn't happened. It was real. And I had no will left to fight it. The weight of what I had done pressed down on me like an anchor. No matter how much I tried to convince myself otherwise, I couldn't escape the truth. This wasn't just a fleeting mistake. It had become something far more dangerous. Each time Ryan came over, my resolve weakened. Told myself I would stop, that it had to end, but the moment he was near, all reason vanished. The secrecy, the stolen glances, the quiet touches that lingered longer than they should. It consumed me, but with every passing day, guilt crept in, seeping into my thoughts like a slow poison. Every morning, as Mark kissed me goodbye, I felt the weight of my betrayal sink deeper into my chest. I couldn't keep living like this. I had to make a choice one evening. As Ryan stood in front of me, his eyes filled with quiet understanding, I knew what had to be done. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. This has to stop. For the first time,